and welcome to episode 35 of Rigor Mortis Paranormal. Tonight's episode includes an apparition at the Onion House, witches get stitches, Carlos's demon doll, and more intoxicating stories from the RMP team. I am David. This is Robert, Jasmine, Kory, Ian, and Mikey.
Hello!
Hey! Man, I just got back from taking a leak and I heard everybody talking about buffets, man. It's like, what's going on here, guys?
When do we not talk about buffets?
First off, my dad's the one that started it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The buffet king. What was my new name? Lord Huffington. Huffington. Yeah.
Clock, clock, clock.
No, because I didn't know. I did not know that Luby's had a all you can eat. I was like, man, I heard that. I was like, oh, it's on now. And then what were we talking about right now? The rolls. The King Hawaiian hamburger buns.
I didn't know
and hot dog. I was like, dude, stop the presses.
Stop the Huffington Post.
That's the shit. The Huffington King wants in on some of this. But yeah.
Where's that at? The Hawaiian what?
The Hawaiian King, those rolls, they're... I mean, we sponsored people before for free, so I'm fucking... They're really good. Those rolls are really good. The rolls are good, but now they're making burger buns.
So we don't got to get Hill Country Fair no more.
If you had a choice, I would go with them. They're really good, but anyway...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Where's that place with the Hawaiian burgers that we go to sometimes with people in Paula?
Jesus, man, that sounds really good.
Right over there by...
It's Frontier Burger.
Frontier Burger, yes.
Yeah. Do they put an actual, like, a pineapple or something?
They put pineapple on there.
I don't know if that's...
Man, I'll be driving on the highway.
It's so good.
And I smell that place, man. Like the smoke coming out of it.
Dude, I gotta try that, man. First thing we started off with,
food.
This is a fat guy episode. Fellas, man, seriously, I don't know what's going on, but lately we've been getting some fucking awesome stories.
Hell yeah.
Man. The ones today are gonna be
off the hoof.
They're really
yes.
good.
The three that we have tonight are really good. We have one really long and kind of depressing one. Yeah,
it's a little sad.
We have actually a video that's going with this one also.
So you can look on YouTube. You'll find that on YouTube and on our website. It'll be on
everywhere.
Yeah,
YouTube,
we'll have it on our
YouTube
page,
and our website as well. So
also, you guys have been coming through. We have been getting more pics. I mean, we've been getting everything from orbs to full body apparitions. So just keep them coming, please. I mean, it's awesome. Thank y'all for sending those. But I mean, seriously, the stories that we've been getting, man, they're actually getting kind of like where I'm laying down and I start thinking about them, and I'm in the dark and I'm kind of getting chicken shit. Man, I'm serious, man. I get one of my grandkids' night lights and I pull it away from them.
Is that you running?
Yeah. No, they're asleep already anyway. They wake up with night terrors.
This last story has been stuck in my head.
You've been telling it to everybody.
I know.
Carlos Demon Doll is
that
a
was
really great story.
Yeah, it's been stuck in my head.
It's a long story, so it's 15 minutes, but it really sounds like a movie. I mean, honestly,
right?
I mean, the way she wrote it out and stuff, it really sounded like a movie. I was like, this is awesome, man.
It is sad at the same time. So
and the Witches Get Stitches is pretty good too, and then so was the Onion House. Yeah, they're great stories today, man. They're like, and then the video, we got a video on top of it.
On top of that, man, yeah,
so it's gonna be a great night, folks.
Action packed. I got another work story.
Oh no.
It's a daily.
Okay, this happened actually today though, man. It was kind of shit, man. It was kind of scary too, man. But where I work, man, especially on Saturdays, they like to go and get tacos and just start your morning off right, eating breakfast tacos. But it's like I said, everyone I work around is like heavyweight, man. We're all big boys on the block.
Play around, huh?
No, we don't fuck around when it comes to the tacos. We're not getting the high dollar ones, the carne asada and fajita tacos, We're looking for,
taco?
Yeah, bacon cheese, egg and papa, So there's a place that we normally go to, and they always have a kind of good deal. It's like 3 tacos for like $2.71 something. It's really good. How many was there today? There was 4 of us. And they're huge. They're they're bigger than me, man. Some of them, believe it or not. And I can eat, boy. Ooh, man. They send me for the tacos, so I'm buying like different variety. Like I said, papa and huevo, chorizo and egg, bean and cheese, bean and bacon. You have mercy. We're about 24 fucking tacos for 4 people.
Oh my god!
And that's me included 24, man. So you already know we're getting 5. And then since it's 24, that's 6 tacos, man.
Yeah,
you know,
6 tacos each.
Yeah, so, and yeah, we don't fuck around, man. So, I beg your pardon. There was another one that we bought, and this is what caused all the bullshit. They have on the same thing you can buy for the same price, 3 for like $271 was the.
Hey, got down to the penny.
Yeah, hell yeah! You know what I do, right? Yeah, like fuck yeah. So it was the what was it? The chorizo country sausage ranchero. No, just country sausage ranchero, man.
Oh,
that's
that's
so good, man. So we all talk a lot of shit, but man, when we're eating, man, it gets silent, man. Like you just hear chewing, and everybody's going at it, man. One of the bigger guys, man, and that guy, man, he loves those the chorizo and country.
He loves the chorizo.
He loves the chorizo.
The ranchero chorizo.
But so he likes the country sausage ranchero. He likes those. Anyway, this dude we're eating, and I don't know if he realizes it or not. I don't see how he saw that because he asked me how many of those did you buy, and I said I think there's something like 3 in there. I don't know. And he had one. Another guy got one. So there was because they're wrapped in foil. You can't see what you got. So there's another one out there, man. So that guy had a full taco in his hand. It was like, it wasn't the one that he wanted because he had already eaten the country sausage. So he was eating like a, I don't know, bean and cheese or something, and he realized, fuck, there's only one more in there. So that dude just started trying. He crammed like all of it in his mouth. He started just trying to chew it, and he's looking for the other one. Like, and dude, he starts to fucking choke, man. He starts fucking choking.
On beans? On refried beans, you were choking?
No, it's a taco, man. He started. He
didn't chew it.
Because he's trying to find the other one, and he doesn't want to look too fat. That like at least I finished this one, so I got to go to the next. So man, no, dude, man, he started choking. We didn't know. We didn't fucking know. Everybody was concentrating on their tacos, man. So we're all busting our, you know. And he like kind of stands up. Here we go. He starts fucking running. Why is it that he starts running like
a
he's
big guy running?
Yeah, and we're laughing. Now one of the guys like, "Hey, you're trying to eat and exercise at the same time?" Talking with them. And like he's like kind of going back and forth, and they're like, "Oh fuck, dude!" And we're like, "What's wrong?" He can't breathe, dude. And we're like, "Oh fuck, man!" And this dude's choking, man. So we're kind of looking at each other, man, and we're like, "Dude, what do we do, man?" I'm not kidding, man. I'm not fucking bullshitting. It's less than 2 weeks ago, we had a mandatory CPR. Nobody was paying attention. And they're like, well, how do you do it on this guy, man? How do
Did
we
y'all do like a ring around the rosy? All 3 of y'all?
All 3 of y'all locked arms. Y'all locked arms.
Okay, come in. Don't know everybody at the same time, right? No, something there. He was like, dude, he's big. And like, you have to lay him on the ground, We're like, no, man. I was like, we didn't know. So he's like, dude, you have to hit it out. And he started hitting him in the stomach. And he was like getting punched. And he's choking, but he's getting mad too. Like, cut that shit. But like, he still can't. And man, the dude starts turning like red, man. I mean, like, he's really turning. And we start to panic, man. We're like, none of us, all of us have fucking cell phones. Not one of us thought to call a fucking, you know, anybody to tell us. We were arguing to see who was going to give him CPR. Like, fuck that, man. We're like, nah, bullshit. Hey, you took the course twice, but I don't remember.
You brought him the tacos.
No. I know that last taco instead of worrying about that guy.
No, but everybody dropped their tacos. That guy was the only one worried about it. So,
was he still trying to reach for the taco?
Was he still digging to the bag?
Why do you run, though?
He probably knew you guys weren't going to help for shit.
We're trying to. No, but they're really like, no, fuck you, man. I'm not giving them out. And they're like, dude, while we were arguing like that, man, he was like breathing, and we saw him finally kind of like, I guess.
He pulled the food on himself?
No, it just sank into him. Whatever it was, it just kind of slid down. And like, you know how you see how the snake's feet with the rats, like, yeah, it just slid down. Like,
so did he unhinge his jaw?
No, dude, he's trying to get a cow in it. But dude, he stayed there and he's like breathing, like, dude, he's breathing like he ran a mile. Like he's trying to get the color back in his face. And we're like kind of scared, but kind of like making fun of him, but like just joking because we were scared. We're like, dude, now take it easy, man. We'll buy some more, pitch in for some more. And he's like, we're like, what happened, bro? And he's like, I don't know. there's something wrong with the taco or something. But
They didn't cook the tortillas all the way.
No, but he found the taco. They were like, he was looking through it. He was opening
I
it.
know,
Man, 'cause
right?
they bitch at you,
They
though.
gave it to him.
When you're opening them up like that, the guy's bitch, like, hey, dude, get your fucking hands off. 'Cause we don't know where your hands, man. But the dude, they were like, yeah, just let him be, man. He was choking. He found his taco. He walked away, and they're like,
Worth it.
But that one other guy was like, hey, dude, calmate, man. Dude, I'm going nowhere, man. Not one of us thought to. No, and that's the thing, too. How many of y'all have been to CPR classes and really pay attention? Because you're getting out of work, man.
Ian pays attention in all his classes.
Well, of course,
And that was-
man.
that's
He'll know what to
like-
do. But, dude, if you saw this guy's greasy, fat face, man, you wouldn't know what to do.
I think I don't know that.
Bring a plunger, right? Either it's coming up or down.
I don't think they do mouth to mouth anymore. I think they just do chest compressions. I think that's the new thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, and then what's the song that they do it to, right? Saturday Night Fever, the Staying Alive.
Staying Alive? Queen song.
Another one.
Another one bites the dust. Yes.
It's
Oh, yeah, there you go, yeah. Johnny Paychecks, you take this job and shove it. What do you say, Dave?
Yeah,
Should we get on the jazz? We get
Yeah,
the
first one. Which one do we want to do first? Onion House, Witches. I think we should save Carlos Demon for last. That's a good one.
All right, we want to do Honey first.
Yeah, let's do the.
That was a good one.
Okay.
And then we got a video. Remind you fellas, we have a video on that one. So
Here we go. Apparition at the Onion House.
Starts, hey guys, it's your sister Rachel, which would be my Thea, with another creepy experience that happened 2 weeks ago. I stay near a historical house called the Hebner Onion House, out in Leon Valley. Before I tell you about my experience, I'd like to share a brief history about the house. In 1862, a man named Joseph Hebner built a house in San Antonio and turned it into a stagecoach stop for travelers. It had been raided several times during the years by Indians, killing people and horses each time it was raided. In 1882, Mr. Hebner died, allegedly from drinking a bottle of kerosene, mistaking it for a bottle of whiskey he had been drinking that night. Rumors have it that his workers weren't sure if he was dead or just drunk.
Makes sense.
That's a badass way to die, I think. So they voted amongst each other and ended up burying him behind the house on the other side of the creek bed. In 1930, Judge John Onion bought the home and lived there with his wife and 2 twin sons. Shortly after moving into the house, he and his family would hear someone walking up and down the stairs, plates shattering in the kitchen, distant notes of piano keys, and most common of all were the beating of horse hooves stomping across the yard. The house had been vacant since the Onion family, now with the gate around it, trying to keep out the vandalizers, but people still find their way in and report yelling, horse hoof stomping, candles lit at the window, seeing a man pacing back and forth on the balcony, and other activities. It's a really big lot with a creek running along the back of the house, full of big shady trees, green grass, kind of a wooden area, and a little spooky if you're walking past alone. I have walked past even at night to get to a store that is on the other side of the lot. Never saw anything nor heard anything, but just it being wooded and dark made it scary enough even in the daytime. This one particular day I had to catch the bus, but the one by my place was shut off due to construction on the sidewalk, so I had to walk to the next bus stop that was right in front of the Onion House lot. I still had about 10 minutes or so to wait for the bus. There is somewhat of a separation between the bus stop and the lot. An older gentleman about early 70s is standing in the grass on the Onion lot. He tells me, "Can you come here and tell me if you hear and see what I am hearing and seeing?" Not knowing his intentions, I said, "Sorry, but my bus is coming." So the man is standing there and keeps looking at me, looking towards the trees and the wooded area. He then starts to walk away. Once he was far enough down the sidewalk, my curiosity got the best of me, only because he did look confused. I don't see any animals anywhere. A bird maybe, but no bird I ever heard. So I am like, what the heck is the noise? Then I see something moving behind the trees. What looked to me like very, very long legs. They seemed to be pacing back and forth. I struggled to see the rest of the body, but the trees were in the way. Was tempted to walk closer, but as I said, the legs looked taller than me, and the sound that was coming from the direction was pretty eerie, so I decided against it. I did take a video of it. Mind you, like all other legendary monsters, videos and pictures, it seems a little bit blurry. But you can hear the noises twice and again, once faintly over the airplane, and the airplane that decided to pass so conveniently. Love you guys, and as always, love listening to you guys.
Have any of y'all been there? Or seen the other house?
I've never even heard of it, honestly. I mean,
Is it by Hebner?
You know, actually, you
It's
guys
off of
talked about
Bandera.
it. I thought it was just a smelly house.
It's what do you think of when you hear Hebner? It's a road, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I didn't think that there was a person named Hebner until that dude could
I
party.
feel like he's my idol now.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, for real.
What's this? 2 bottles? 2 jugs? Then he was partying by the fucking fireplace, and no, this is not. How are you gonna drink kerosene?
Oh, kerosene, God.
We almost
I
did.
can imagine it tastes just as bad as the whiskey back
Right.
then.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, it's probably was
similar.
safer.
Or,
Did he take like one drink, or did he slam it or something? Or
Because if he died, I mean, anybody in the right
He
mind
chugged
just
it.
spits it, right? They're just like, oh shit, this ain't right.
Yeah.
But this guy just like
He's
killed the
probably
bottle
already
and just have to wait a minute.
You don't think it's similar to the White Lightning that we had up there in Gatlinburg?
Oh,
Might have
man.
been.
Remember
That's
that?
probably what it was.
The-
Like he probably couldn't. He just got confused.
Moonshine.
I mean, both of them was set on fire. That's what I was saying. But man, how do you not know, man?
No kidding.
We were speaking about the video.
Yeah, the video, you got to check that out. It's going to be on our website, or it is on our website, and it's also on YouTube. So either way, check it out.
Glorious 144p.
Yeah.
It's not a paranormal video caught on tape unless it is, so blurred out.
Okay, from the video that what I saw, that was weird. The 2 legs, but it was kind of hard to tell. I mean, you be the judge. What was that noise that we were hearing behind there too?
Before the airplane?
Like a whining.
Dude.
Sound like Herbert.
He stubbed his toe.
Those legs were like as tall as the trees, though.
They were, and
Yeah,
then, like you
tall.
couldn't see the top part. That's what she was saying. But do you remember what she was talking about?
About him pacing back and forth.
Yeah. So I guess maybe he gave it a rest in the house and came outside because they were saying they have flickering of the light. If
Still drunk or what?
I
want more kerosene.
I'm going crazy. It tastes like burning. But I have been there. I have been there twice. And there's actually like a hotel or a motel right next to it. So I went on the property. I went towards the back of it. It's weird. Like you can see the creek and you can see like the acres that they have up there, the woods or whatever it is. But that just did look kind of crazy because whoever was pacing back there, it just wasn't. It wasn't. Normal.
It wasn't natural, yeah. Their
Yeah.
legs
And
were
you-
super fucking long.
But you'll think, right, Jazz? You think, okay, it looks kind of like it could be anything. Maybe a homeless guy that's drunk pacing back
Maybe
and
it was
forth.
Yao Ming.
Possessed?
Yeah.
Why was I gonna say that?
What, really?
I was waiting to say that. It's
What's
weird.
that?
Maybe it was Yao Ming.
I don't know why he'd be in Texas or in San Antonio, but I was gonna say that. That's so weird.
Maybe it was a pecan tree. He was trying to pick pecan. But no, I mean, but if
Somebody
you
on stilts back
yeah,
there?
that's not though. I mean, because it didn't make no sense because they were just pacing back and forth in the same spot. They didn't go too far.
Maybe they were
it was somebody
practicing.
on stilts trying to balance.
But did she say?
Whoa!
Didn't she say it was like a 7-year-old man trying to show it to her though?
Yeah, he heard first.
That's what's weird
Oh, yeah.
too.
And he said, "Can you come over here and see what I'm looking at? And can you tell me if you can hear the same thing?" But he wasn't wearing any pants, so she said, "Ah, pants."
Yeah, that's okay.
That he was seeing it also. I mean, that was kind of like, and it's kind of cool too because she said she was waiting for the bus and she was just minding her own business, but she did capture some. To me, I thought it was kind of creepy and weird, man. Because it didn't make no sense with the legs just walking back and forth.
Yeah, because with legs that long, your torso would
Yeah, no
have
shit.
to be.
Yeah, I was
You
like,
know,
that was
I don't know.
That was weird. Yeah,
I might have been curious enough to just stand and wait around to see what it really was. I
I
mean,
would not.
maybe not. I'm not.
It looked weird because it didn't look like it was walking. It looked like it was just like Oh,
It was
side by
waltzing?
side.
Like drunk almost, right? Like
Yeah.
Drunk on kerosene.
Yeah, kerosene. Yeah.
And
It was like,
that's some
I
strong
fucked
stuff.
up.
Yeah, I mean,
Or like looking for another can of kerosene. This shit kicks, man.
Have you tried this shit?
I was like, hey, dude, you know, they got this new back then. Because what was it, 18 something? It's like, hey, you got to try this Jack Daniels. Man, fuck that. You got to try this kerosene. So, good, you die. What would you construe that as? Like
Residual?
almost, right? Like a recording
That
playing
makes
over?
sense, actually. A residual haunting. I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe it's UFO related too. Who knows?
it could be
I mean,
Bigfoot. I mean,
Hey, he was
you never
tall.
know. I mean,
He was
Slender
big.
Man.
Slenderman.
I don't know how.
Right,
I don't know about
that's
that one.
actually-
It's
that's
really
what
tall
I'm
and
kinda-
slender, yeah. And
kinda
it was all
related.
black. There was no.
What did they
Like
call
a shadow.
someone so that I know y'all seen it. It's on YouTube. They're just a huge, long pair of white legs that are walking. And
I was
looks
thinking
like
the
a
same
little
thing.
Oh yeah.
What is
That's
that?
what it reminded me of.
There's
actually.
no head?
head. Y'all haven't seen that?
It's just like
I
two
saw-
legs. So I saw
Yeah.
it on Fact or Fake.
Factor
Yeah,
fake? Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
just
weird.
like two legs and they just walking across.
And there's
the
a
way it
small one
walked, like,
behind
really-
them.
Yeah.
But like the
That was
Native
creepy.
Americans, they actually had a name, and it's weird because they have like you know how they have like the spirits and all that. They know all the definitions. Well, I don't know how to say this. I'm drunk. I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
Damn kerosene.
Well, they're legends and they're myths that they have, and I don't want to call them myths because they believe in them. So, but they had something that looked exactly like that. It was just two long ass pair of legs with a little head, and it was weird,
I
man.
did see that on. It was something else, right? It was a different show. I think I saw it.
I think it's one of those paranormal shows that they have right now. But it was, and actually it was on yesterday that we were watching it. So it was just weird. And when I saw those legs, I was like, I wonder. I'm not saying it's the same thing because it actually looks like somebody wearing long ass pants.
Yeah, it does look a little different.
Yeah.
Maybe like Slender Man actually
Yeah,
too. I mean,
weird.
It was
But then
pretty
again,
crazy.
the video
man.
was kind of blurry, so it
And
could
yeah.
have been.
It's like, why does that always have to be though, man? But
Yeah.
you know, and again, you know, it is from a trusted source. I mean, I believe
Yeah.
my sister. You know, she's, you know,
I mean that, but the sound too.
That was creepy.
yeah.
And there's honestly there's no goat farms or nothing like that on that land. So I
I don't think it was a cat either. Cause
It'd be crazy. We catch a glimpse of her on the phone, and she's making the noise when she turns around. Whoopsie! Just kidding, Rachel.
And she's got her fingers over the phone, making it look like legs.
pushing the two long fingers. Like, oh man,
It was definitely a Boeing 757 flying overhead, though.
was it?
I don't know.
But you know what though, when that plane does come in, it kind of gives it like a little creepy sound. Like at first I thought,
Yeah.
I thought she actually put music to that video, and I was like, no, that's just a plane because she told us that. But it matched pretty good. Like
Yeah,
I
it
was
did,
like,
actually.
What if it was a UFO disguised as a plane?
Yeah.
you never know. You never
Could
know.
be. Hey.
Anyway, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great story.
Grazie.
So, should we, man, knowing how many stories we got or how long these other ones are, should we get to the next one? Or
Yeah, let's do that.
This is a kind of short one. This is the Witches Get Stitches, is what this is called, and you'll see why.
Let's do it.
Wow.
This story comes to us from Alyssa of San Antonio, Texas. My grandmother worked in a factory making caskets. Her job was sewing the inside of the casket, but the creepy part of the story is that she worked with two witches. She said her boss favored her because she was a good worker, and because of this, the witches didn't like her. She said at times, when she'd be working, her hands would start to go numb to the point where she couldn't work. Some days she would show up at work, and there would be a pile of salt in front of her machine. She knew the witches were the culprits. Eventually, one of her co-workers referred her to the espiritualistas. The spiritualist told her that when her hands went numb, simply put her hands under the water and pray. She did this and said it worked. But the witches continued messing with her. So she went back to the espiritualistas, and this time they said they would send protection for her. That night, my grandma woke up because she heard something and looked at the foot of her bed and saw a small man standing there. He stood there for a little while, then he slowly walked out of the room. She said she heard all these noises on top of the house, like fighting on the roof. Then just as suddenly as it began, it was quiet. The next day, when she showed up for work, she noticed both of the ladies had their hands wrapped in bandages. Needless to say, from that day on, they never messed with her, and she never saw the little man again.
That's what them bitches get, right?
them witches.
Oh, witches, my bad.
Bitches getting stitches.
No, but that's kind of fucked up because there are folks like that. They get celoso and then
Yeah.
look what happened with these dumb bitches because they thought that they had their shit down packed. Oh yeah, wait till okay, está bueno, cabrona.
Yeah.
You want to be lambusca and a mamona? Okay. And all she was trying to do was do her work because these other two, she had to pick up the slack for them other
exactly.
two bitches, right?
What are they thinking? Yeah, what's gonna happen? I mean, if they hurt her, then what? They're gonna have to work.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up with that?
Well, now she does have her hands full. This is what I love about this fucking doing this shit so much because, well, obviously there's different stories, but there's different
genres, different.
Like, okay, we're talking about hauntings one time, and I'm thinking this is a curse, and like that's why I'm saying this. All this stuff is kind of cool when we hear, and that's why we're saying please keep bringing these stories because they're awesome. And lately they've been crazy. Tell me, Jazz.
Every time I hear a story about a witch, I always hear like a counter witch that's like trying to protect them. And I'm thinking like, where do you even find these witches?
Good witches, bad witches.
You know what? Go to the south side, man.
Right?
Okay, well, see, I've
the
never
flea
seen-
markets, yeah,
Flea
man.
market.
You're right,
You know what?
yes,
That's
yeah.
true. The other day I saw one at the flea market. You're right.
You just saw a witch? How do you know she was a witch?
Well, I mean, it's one of
She
those.
had the hat.
It's like a spiritual.
She was green.
Yeah, she came in on a broom.
You want to offer up? They
She
showed
was
her.
green.
She had name tags.
Name tag.
Cabrona, there's my broom.
Name tags. I can work at Costco. Hi.
Ooh, who did your costume?
Cheryl, I'll be a witch for the day. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. This dude tried to convince me, and this is at the what do they call them, culinderos, or like the guys who, like the witch doctors who cure you from a curse. But I don't know how those things go, and I hope to God I do not offend anybody here, especially one of them, because I do not want. I don't want to. No, I don't want to curse. Yeah.
Watch out before your eating hands
No,
fucking get off.
but
Your
this guy
hooves.
swore up and down that
3% to 19.
he told this person to go over there because they had bad luck. It's a string of bad luck. It's just like, and they were saying they thought for sure that they were cursed, and it was a lady. He said that he had asked her, how did it go? Because she went to the flea market to go get cleansed by the culindero. This Fidel was telling me that the lady said the witch doctor made her strip down butt naked, and that he made her lay on the ground and he put a broom on her and started sweeping her. And I was like, that's bullshit. He goes, that's what she's telling me. I don't think that's correct, but if anybody can tell me if that's the way it goes.
Do you think they would have done the same thing to you?
No, hell no.
You go in with the same story, but they do the same thing.
So you use a blower, they're flipping one. A leaf blower? Yeah, you see the guys drawing straws. You go. It's only fair we draw straws. They go with a power washer. Clean now, brother. Pretty curse. It's kind of dark in between those cheeks. So it's got a little lighter.
It must have took like 4 witches to curse you.
I feel better already, right? But I don't know. I think that was bullshit. I think he was fucking with me. See, they're gonna get mad too.
You know how they rub the egg too?
Yeah. The whole.
I was like, yeah, but if you would have went there, you have to use one of those ostrich eggs.
Sir, we don't have any pterodactyl eggs.
Tyrannosaurus.
Just rubbing a fucking baby
Yeah,
on.
no one y'all leave. He cries about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to bed right into the toilet. I'm gonna. Yeah,
those guys.
Baba's on my pillow. That's actual tears, right? I think that's what you get, story.
Yeah.
Right. Because.
It reminds me of one of the stories that we had before too, with mom and or grandmother.
Yeah.
Same thing. The same. Well, witch was picking on somebody, and the other witch came back, and
That was actually more evil though, because
Yeah.
she did something to the more powerful witch, and the witch that was picking on mom and them. She wound up passing. I don't know what to say about that. It's like, do people? I'm sure, like, because you're already a witch, so you believe in that. And then, so you believe that there's another witch stronger than you, so...
I don't know, that's scary stuff, man.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But what did she say? That the other little witch, the one that was... The bully. But I'm not saying the bigger witch was any better either, because the bigger witch may have been like mean too, but she just screwed with the little witch screwed with the wrong person. So this lady started. Remember, Mom was saying that she was throwing up hair.
Yeah, throwing up hair.
And I never heard that shit before. Yeah. For y'all who haven't heard it, and this is the first time y'all hearing it, and y'all don't want to go back to the archives and listen to this, there was a witch that lived next to my mom's house when she was a kid, and she sent the lechuza, right? That's what it was.
Yeah, the lechuza.
Yeah, it was like a bird that flew around with a. I heard it was just like a mean bird or something, but it kept flying around the house. My uncle started cursing at it, but my grandmother, she started praying and doing the rosaries, Our Fathers, and my uncle, which was her son, got more pissed than anything, so he started cursing at the bird. So the bird finally flew away. So we think, though, because like 6 months later, and it could have been a coincidence, it could have been that, who knows, but he passed away. He came back from the war, survived the war, but he got in a car wreck 6 months later. So this same witch that put the curse and the lechuza to go fly around my grandmother's house, she actually had the audacity to go ask for help from them.
Yeah, that's right.
And like, she didn't know where to turn. They're like, yeah, I would have been like, Grandma, hey, bitch, weren't you the one that sent that fucking lechuza to my house? But they were saying that she was throwing up hair, and that's not the way they were. That my grandmother, they tried to help her.
Did Eric ever tell you the story? I think it was Eric, was it? We were all drunk that one night, and you know those little spinny things on the roof? He started cursing it out because he thought it was lechuza. It was Eric, right?
It was just a vent, one of those vents.
It was just one of those vents, and he was like, "Fuck you, motherfucker!" Like yelling at it. We're like, "What's he doing?"
Oh,
It was across. He saw it across the street, right?
Yeah.
On the old house. On
A village.
Village. Yeah.
The same house. It was on the telephone pole.
No, that was the Luchisa.
That one wasn't.
I think it was like an hour, big ass hour or something, whatever. But my mom thought it was lechuza. She was like, "You gotta cuss at it."
Everybody says that, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get rid of the lechuza. You call them a bunch of sons of bitches, and
Why does that? When you have to cuss at it? Maybe
because it's showing that you're not afraid of it.
Yeah.
Like that you're not. Because my grandmother was deathly afraid of it. She was praying.
But that guy cussed at it.
My uncle.
And he fucking died.
He was like, "Chinga su madre."
Lechuza said, "I ain't scared of you."
He was like, "I'm gonna fuck with these people." Oh yeah, you gotta cuss at
Yeah,
it.
he was telling at her too.
You're supposed to compliment it.
Come on,
I like your eyelashes.
Taryn, he was yelling at her and the witch next door. Pinche puta. But it's hard to say because it's like Jan said right there, like he had a wreck and he survived the war, but he came back and after that he had a wreck. So I guess if you give in to these, beliefs and stuff like that, that could happen. And maybe not. So like, I'm just saying I believe in coincidence and stuff like that, but what if that was true? But notice how I'm kind of walking on eggshells and like, but it could be true. Like, oh yeah, fat ass. Yeah. I wish they would do that, like that movie from Stephen King, Thinner. They put he did that. That guy got real skinny. You remember that? Yeah, man.
I heard about that. Yeah.
You remember that, Thinner?
I haven't seen it, but I heard it.
Yeah, she does that on his face. And he's like big motherfucker like me, and then after a while he's like paper thin, man. So I'm like, dude, come on, do me. Anyway, thank you for that awesome story. Yeah, it was, man. I think we have the doozy, the long.
But actually, you know what? Mikey had a story that he wanted to tell us.
Oh, dude, we're getting ahead of ourselves, man.
Oh my god, dude, it was crazy. It was both scary and I don't know what else to think. But this happened about 2006, 2005, whatever. We went to Walmart. Whatever. I was gonna buy me and my mom and my dad. They were gonna buy me a game for like a PS2 way back then.
Oh man,
I was so happy to have one. Well, they bought it for me. Whatever. We came back and. Of course, my dad had a couple beers in him, of
course he did.
They were between like 9, 10. So that's a few for him.
He was just getting started.
Yeah. Well,
some kerosene.
he took a shower, and after he took a shower, he went to his bed, whatever. And I walked in there to see what they were doing, talking, whatever. I guess they sounded like they were arguing, whatever. Just wanted to see what's going on. And he had those fans, those Fox fans. He was plugging it in. And I'm guessing his hands or he was still wet and all that stuff.
Oh, man.
And all of a sudden, I heard like, And I looked at him and I started laughing because I thought he was playing. As soon as I started laughing, my mom started laughing. Oh, that's, playing around, he got pissed. He got pissed. I was like, wait, what? I thought you were playing. He goes, no, I almost died. You bastards laughing at me and so why would you laugh at me? Dude, I swear, dude, that's something that you see in cartoons. Not even the movies. That's something you see on a cartoon.
The ground and they have the little squiggly lines around there.
You see a skeleton, there's x-ray. Every time I say that story, dude, I laugh inside that. He gets mad, too. I hope you're not listening. But
you know what, though? I gotta say this because
that was crazy.
That story had nothing to do with nothing, but we pressured him so bad to tell that fucking funny story.
So it's not his fault, Mike.
It was scary to me because he got pissed off at me and wanted to beat my ass.
You gotta see a Rigor Mortis coming.
I told
Fuck
him.
y'all. Bastards.
He was mad at us for laughing, but what the hell did he want us to do?
I know why he probably really got pissed, dude. That probably cleared his buzz, man.
Hell yeah.
Go grab me another beer, damn it.
Yeah, y'all want to make it up to me by mid-case. Straight killing.
Fucking pissed too, Mikey.
Anyway, like we were saying, let's get back to that story, man. This last one is.
It's pretty
It's
long.
really good. It's a long story, but
But
really,
it's really good. Yeah, it is. It's kind of one of our more depressing ones, I think.
it's a little sad. But anyway, give it a listen.
Okay, this next story comes to us from Irene. Irene writes, "Hello, my name is Irene. I'm new to your podcast. Your team is very funny. A friend of mine told me about your show. I have a story I would like to share with you. I never told anyone my story outside the family. I didn't think anyone would believe me until I met my friend Eli. I am from a small town in Mexico called Huasca de Ocampo, population 15,201. This has been bothering me a lot for many years, so my friend Eli thinks if I share my story, I'll feel better. It's a pretty long story. Years worth of fear, sadness, not knowing who to turn to for help. It was a 3-year-long nightmare I feel I will never wake up from. In 2008, I was 17 years old. My sister was 21 and she had a son, Carlos, who at this time was 4 years old. In April of 2008, my mother wanted to see her brothers and sisters back in HDO, Mexico. HDO being abbreviations for Huesca de Ocampo. I lived there until I was 2 years old with my sister Marisol, who was 6 years old, and my mother and father. In 1992, my mother divorced my father, and we ended up moving to LA. And then, again at age 12, we moved to Texas. Just my mother, my sister, Mari, and myself. I was excited to see my cousins. I don't really remember them that much, but I got to talk to them on the phone a few times a year. We were going to be in Mexico for 2 weeks. I was very excited. HDO, Mexico is a very beautiful place. So we arrived in Mexico, and it's as beautiful as I remembered. During our stay in HDO, my mom woke us up early one morning to tell us that we were going to pay respects to our grandparents, who passed away before I was born. She wanted to leave flowers on their grave, so we made a day of it. It was my mother, my aunt, myself, Mari, my cousin Victor, and my 4-year-old nephew Carlos. As my mother and aunt sat at my grandparents' grave, me, Mari, Victor, and my nephew Carlos walked around the cemetery looking for pictures of the dead, reading their gravestones. One particular grave stood out to us. It had only one name engraved on the stone and one date. Either the date was of birth or the date was of death. I remember the stone looking very old. Sitting there leaning on the stone were 3 dolls. They reminded me of voodoo dolls. 2 were girl dolls, and 1 seemed to be a male doll. They didn't look old. It looked actually as somebody had just recently left them on that gravestone. I thought whoever was buried here must have liked dolls. My cousin, Victor, picked up the male doll. We really didn't think much of it at the time, and continued walking around, looking at the pictures and reading the gravestones. I'm not sure at what point my nephew got the doll from Victor. We were heading back to my aunt's house. Days passed, and I saw my nephew still holding that doll and talking to it. I thought it was cute that he took a liking to the doll. Carlos was all smiles and laughs. I thought, how cute, even though the doll was creepy looking. Then, 2 days before we were supposed to leave back to Texas, my nephew got sick with the flu. High fever, coughing, his throat hurting. He didn't want to eat anything those last days in Mexico. I remember my sister giving him all types of medicines. On the day it was time to leave, he did seem a little better. Fever went down, and he ate a little at the airport. When we boarded the plane, I noticed my nephew brought the doll with him. Him bringing it home did start to freak me out a little because I noticed he wouldn't put the doll down at any point. About a month after being home from Mexico, my nephew kept getting sick. Doctors made up things about what he had, blaming the climate change from Mexico to Texas. Other doctors said it was just a cold. But I noticed he wasn't acting the same. He wasn't his talkative self, asking 100 questions like a regular 4-year-old usually does. He used to always be happy, laughing. He loved his cartoons and riding his bike. Now he just sat there staring at the floor quiet, with dark circles around his eyes. I'd ask him if he wanted to go outside and ride his bike or swim. He'd just shake his head no. I told my sister I was concerned about him. She would just brush it off and say that he wasn't feeling well. Months passed, and it got to be normal that Carlos wouldn't talk anymore. He even started using the restroom on himself. The doctors couldn't figure it out. I finally told my sister, don't she find all this weird? That it all started when he got that doll. He never puts it down, even to bathe. He sits the doll on the tub near him. My sister tells me I'm being paranoid and laughs it off. One night, I decided to take the doll out of the house while my nephew was asleep. The next day, my sister was going crazy looking for the doll. Carlos wouldn't stop crying. My sister asked me if I had seen it. I told her I had not. My nephew cried for days. About 3 or 4 months passed, and my nephew was actually getting better. He was actually going outside now. But he still didn't talk much, and he still had dark circles around his eyes. He seemed so tiny for a 4-year-old. He had lost a lot of weight over the months. My nephew started to share a room with my sister, and my room was beside their room, and my mom's was down the hall. It was probably about 11:30 one night. I was hungry and wanted to go out and pick up a snack. I didn't have a car, so I had used my sister's. I walked into her room to get her keys when I heard a hissing noise. I looked over towards my sister's bed. I see Carlos sitting over my sister, with his face so close to my sister's face, just staring at her. I asked him to lie down, but he still stayed there staring at my sister's sleep. His face was so close to hers, I don't know how she didn't wake up. I called out my sister's name twice, but she did not wake. It took 3 hard shakes on her leg to wake her up. When my sister woke, the craziest thing, Carlos leaned in closer and kissed my sister on the mouth. I can see the uneasiness she felt about the kiss. In a sweet, nervous voice, she told him, "Lay down, mijo, it's late." We looked at each other with a worried look. The next day, I told her she needs to take him to the church to get him blessed, or holy water thrown on him, something. I just needed someone else to see what was going on with Carlos and maybe help us figure out what to do with him. She finally agreed with me. As we were walking in the church, my nephew threw himself on the floor and started crying and kept trying to bite me and his mother. Then he looked at me and made this hissing sound like a snake. I heard that same sound that night he was looking over my sister. I let go of his arm, and when I did, he attacked my sister, hitting her and trying to bite her. I finally got his arm again and got him into the church. He was still kicking and crying. He even peed himself. People that were in the church just looked at us in fear. One lady kept on doing the sign of the cross, mumbling prayers our way. Father Andrew took us into a room and asked us a lot of questions and said there wasn't much he can do. He prayed over him and put holy water over his head a few times, handed my sister a rosary and a prayer, told her to pray over him a few times a day. My nephew never talked, but that day in the church he begged my sister to take him home, saying he was hungry and sleepy. But we all knew whatever was inside of Carlos just wanted out of the church. Again, months went by. Things got a little quieter without incident. Carlos talking a little bit more, and even starting to go use the restroom on his own again. Even eating more. In February 2009, we got a call from my aunt in Mexico. My cousin Victor was killed by a stray bullet. We flew back to Mexico for his funeral. We got there a day before his funeral and stayed at my aunt's house. My mother and aunt left to go get a few more things they needed for the funeral the next day. My sister had went with them and asked me if I could watch over Carlos. I put Carlos in front of the TV while I made sandwiches for us. While I was in the kitchen, I heard Carlos quietly laughing and thought, good, he's laughing at his cartoons again, something I hadn't heard him do in a long time. I go into the living room to give Carlos his sandwiches, and I see him standing in the corner laughing quietly. In his hands, I see him holding a picture of my cousin Victor. I grabbed the picture of Victor from my nephew's hands. I shook him by both arms and told whatever was inside of my nephew Carlos to leave him alone, that he was just a little boy. But no matter what I said, it just made him laugh harder and louder. I knew at that point Carlos no longer existed. Whoever or whatever this was took over Carlos. My nephew was gone. We didn't stay long after the funeral. My mother had to get back to work, and so did I. I ended up meeting my boyfriend through another friend of mine. It didn't take us long before I moved in with him. I was happy to be leaving my mother's house. I just wanted to live a normal life without fear. A month after moving in with my boyfriend, my mother needed me to stay at the house for a few days because my sister had taken ill with pneumonia. My mother needed me to care for Carlos while my sister was in the hospital. When I walked into my mother's house, the air felt heavy, dark, and there was a stench. Even though I stayed at my mother's house, I tried to keep my distance from Carlos. When I cooked for him, I'd place the plate on his dresser. If he ate it, good. If he didn't, well, let's just say he stayed in the same clothes the whole week my sister was in the hospital. When my mother got home, I told her I didn't want to watch Carlos no more. I was scared of him. She told me she was too. She found him multiple times standing over her while she slept, and that she thinks he stopped sleeping. She then told me that he was her grandson and that she was not going to give up on him. That last night at my mom's, I fell asleep on the couch watching TV. I woke up hearing noises like an angry dog. I got up and walked towards the growling and heard it coming from Carlos's room. I listened for a few seconds. It wasn't just growling, it sounded like different voices with growling. I didn't open the door. I went into my old room and locked the door and didn't fall asleep all night. In the morning, I packed my things and waited impatiently for my mom to bring my sister home. I was gone as soon as they walked into the house. I didn't go back to my mother's house after that. She always came to my house. My sister at times would come by with Carlos, but I'd always stay outside with them. In the beginning of 2010, my sister got very sick again with pneumonia. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks before her lungs gave out. She died a week before her 23rd birthday. My mother didn't know how she was going to raise Carlos and work at the same time. So she asked me to take him, but I declined. I told her to put him in a hospital where they can care for him. After that, it had been like 6 months before I had talked to my mom. Then out of the blue, she showed up with Carlos in the backseat of a car. She looked tired, sick, and she lost some weight. She told me she couldn't care for him no more and was putting him in the hospital. She said things were getting worse at home. The smells coming from his room were like rotten flesh, and that the noises coming from Carlos weren't normal. She said he belonged to the devil now, and with that, she sent him away. She was the only one to go see him in the hospital. In 2014, she died of a heart attack there at the hospital while seeing him. I have nightmares about him often. Him standing over me while I sleep, just staring at me. I could still hear him laughing, hissing, and growling.
Man.
Ooh, long, but it was worth it.
That
Man, I was in it the whole time, man.
Never had a story like that. I'm telling you, that's like a movie, pretty much. And I mean, it's just like
Right?
listening to it. Just I don't know, man.
It was so good, but it also made me feel a little uncomfortable.
Why are dolls in this world? They're so creepy, man.
Right.
I mean, they just, I don't like them at
It was
all.
strange because it was the grandparents or the great grandparents.
Oh, it was on a random one.
No,
No,
random.
it was in
Yeah.
the same where they were buried at the cemetery. But
Same
yeah.
cemetery.
and what did she say that where they picked it up? It just had one name and one
one-
date,
and
and
one
it
date,
didn't
yeah.
specify whether it was
Yeah.
It was birth or death.
Yeah.
The date.
Wow.
this little poor boy that got caught in the middle of that. I mean, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that poor kid.
And then the tragic part is like how many people died from that family, man. I was just like,
Yeah.
man, that's oh my goodness.
Yeah, she was the last, remaining relative of him, and that's just, I mean, that's sad, and she can't go see him, and rightfully so. I mean, I gotta, gotta back her up on that.
Because I don't know anybody like who.
That's fucked up because I'm your niece.
But that's the thing too, though.
If
It's
my
just,
head was twisting, you wouldn't come see me.
I probably wouldn't see if your head's spinning in circles and you're
No, but
talking in tons.
But that's true because, like, I mean, all the tall tales were there, like from front to beginning, and it's kind of weird how they saw all that, and that's so sad because if you're saying like he was 4 by the time he ended, it's what they say like 3 years later. I'm just speculating, maybe like he was, which
He
is
was
still too
6
young. He was
when
like
they put
6 or
him in.
7, yeah.
Yeah, when they put him in the home.
And that's he hasn't had life yet, so that's.
I think the whole story for me is like it breaks my heart because of course he's innocent, but then at the same time when you think about it, like if it's not him and somebody really did take over his body, then
what happened to him?
yeah, like, and not only that, like it's not so bad thinking about okay, well he has no idea why he's going into hospital because it's not him anymore,
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
The way she said at the end that she talked, I apologize because this part didn't come out on this. We actually,
We followed up with her.
yeah, and he was in a behavioral school, and then he actually went to another medical clinic, or not a clinic, a hospital, and then after that they just lost, touch, or, however, and man, I wonder what the doctors diagnosed that as. Because they have to be scientific about
Right.
everything. They have to have educational guesses on this or whatever. They can't be any kind of, like the way we
he's
do
possessed.
spiritual. Yeah, like
Yeah.
spiritual guesses. They have to go,
Right.
full in.
I mean, my guess would probably be like schizophrenic, maybe, or
Some form of psychosis.
yeah,
You think that
psychosis. Yeah, it's like,
while he was in there, that the nurses and stuff kind of treated him different. Like they caught on and said, like, "Hey, there's
Man.
something probably a little bit bigger than
yeah, something's
Yeah.
not right here.
I wonder if anyone else died from him too.
That's
If
true.
anyone who came in contact with him from in the school or the hospitals. Because I mean, he was living there. You know, he was living around other people,
He could still be.
and he still could be, and people could still be dying from him.
And, going back, yeah, that's true. Is he still alive? And that is true. But going back, way back to the beginning of the story, why were those dolls there? I mean, were they the ones that caused everything? Were they the ones that had a curse to them? And then the date, I think she said that date on that
Headstone.
it was old. It was an old date, but they had these dolls that were up there that were new. Was that some kind of curse? Why were they there? You know, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's true.
Did someone have something against this person?
Do you think that maybe it did serve its purpose? Because some kid caught it, you know, and they were walking around with them. Maybe, you know, that's, you know.
Ooh.
Y'all
getting
is
deep.
scaring me.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you run into something like that? You leave that shit
Leave
alone.
that shit alone.
Oh,
You
man.
know what? It was a cousin's fucking fault. He should have. He knows better. He's old enough. Don't touch it.
He was a little kid too, but look what it. Probably, I mean, he got, you know, a stray bullet to him. So you know, and then, you know, the mom had the double
Heart attack.
pneumonia, the double pneumonia, and then the mom had the
Her mom.
yeah, and when she
grandma.
was visiting him, you know, so like you know.
Yeah, I know. It's like a triple whammy there. I mean,
And you know what scares me is it's related but different.
Nobody washed our hands.
No. No, it just today our family was at a RV park,
we're looking at some RVs. Yeah, that's right.
and me and my sisters, and we were hearing somebody say hello, and we couldn't find where the hello was coming from, and it sounded like it was coming from inside of the RV. We couldn't hear it outside of the RV we were in. Well, one time we did, but
Was
I mean,
it a nice RV?
it was a decent one, yeah.
You know what?
It was used.
It was used.
That's where I was going with it, yeah. It was used.
And,
Go for it.
and there were 2 dolls on top of a bed.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
Lord.
were you? Is that
No,
where you-
no, but go for it. Yeah, you got it.
There were 2 dolls. One was a bear, right?
I think
and
so.
then the other one was Bozo
Bozo
the
the
clown.
Clown.
Actually, was a clown.
That's creepy.
And
Yeah, but
guess what the first thing was that my sister did? She picked up both of them.
Oh,
And then I picked up the Bozo one.
you know
So
better
we just
than I
answered your
do.
question.
I know. Well,
Which
you know what?
child would you put in a home? Is that
That's why you look like you were thinking deep about it. He was like,
Man.
oh, you know, I
Yeah, you-
This one, the nurse look at it.
but it's weird the way it sounded because it was going, hello, hello.
That's
Did
creepy,
y'all answer
man.
it? Or
You can hear it like that, but it was lower
Nobody
than
answered
that.
it.
Like, because I've heard this can happen too. That was a used RV, okay. Say those dolls were already in there, right? To me, what I'm thinking is that those dolls got placed after they got that used, whatchamacallit, it's maybe something to sell it. You know, maybe the owner put them in there just to sell them.
Decoration or
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
just like, hey guys, you know, there's a whole
Yeah.
look at the dolls, you know, doesn't it want you
Make
to
it
lay
more
next to them?
relatable, right?
But I have
We
heard
own
that.
dolls too.
Yeah, you know, but I have heard this, Jazz, too. What they say is that anything that, say those dolls were kicking back right there, right? And something tragic happened in that. Maybe the boyfriend got mad with the girlfriend, or the girlfriend got mad with the boyfriend. Somebody got murdered. There was a tragic scene, something bad, maybe murder, suicide. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what happened. I have heard that inanimate.
And then the banana job
They say, okay, the dolls were there, and they witnessed that. They're not, obviously, they're just dolls, but they say that in a tragic event like that, they can actually manifest into those dolls and stuff like that, you know. And I don't think it's the same thing with what we're talking about this story.
No,
Because-
this seems more deliberate and
but
planned.
doesn't that sound like
Yeah.
a curse, Ian? It does. It kind of
Like,
sounds like a curse, doesn't it?
A
I mean, am I
curse,
wrong?
or maybe like a demonic cult of some sort.
That did actually sound like maybe it could have been a demon that was in there, because maybe that was a very powerful witch or whoever laid
I was
that.
thinking witch too. I mean,
Yeah.
the dolls.
Call
are
that
some
witch
sort-
doctor, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that little guy. We
Little
live
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, call him up, man, yeah.
Did they name him?
No, they didn't actually. Yeah. But that story was.
One of the saddest ones that we had in a while. So yeah.
It's
And I
heartbreaking.
could only say though, and I think from all of us from RPs, man, just take care of yourselves, love each other, Irene, and
Your
Our
babies.
condolences.
Take care of your kids.
yeah,
Don't touch no dolls if they ain't yours.
yeah, leave one on the floor.
Hey, my grandma kicked me out of the basement with them dolls, man. Hey, you saw them. You guys saw those fucking dolls, man?
But you know what, dude?
I
Like,
never
they
went
was
in
all
that
good
damn
there. I don't remember anything bad happening.
Because she got them in cases and shit now. So we won't touch them. remember those creepy that one room? Is that where y'all slept?
Dude, I swear, if one were chasing me up that stairs, I would have made it in like fractions of seconds, man.
Man, I hated that.
Like me.
Put them in the Olympics, man.
And they weren't new dolls. They were just old glass dolls.
No,
And, dude,
thank you. No, thank
Oh,
you.
but one chasing
Porcelain.
you, just a little one laughing at you.
Fuck that
Can't be. I'm like, no.
I'm scared of a fucking
You can be
an
like
actual
me
baby chasing me.
during that train
Maybe there was a
incident.
parrot stuck in the toilet or something.
Oh,
What?
what?
You went into the restroom. Oh, no, we're going back to the other
Oh,
story
yeah,
where
yeah.
we saw
I'm trying to
the
get down to the
camper.
bottom of this.
But
Oh, the
you know,
RV?
Maybe there was something in the toilet. You know,
Yeah.
like I know you looked in the restroom, but because it did sound like it was really faint. And but when y'all called me in there and we closed the door because I couldn't
Yeah.
hear it. I heard it
Did
clear.
you say in the toilet?
A parrot?
What the hell have I
Parrot.
been to?
RV owners always have parrots.
What is the worst thing that I have? The worst
Your
fear?
phobia? Dad, you gotta get over that. Nothing's
parrot?
gonna get you while you're on the
I'm
A
toilet.
parrot
always
in the
quiet
toilet?
until somebody brought up that damn toilet.
But do you really think somebody's gonna mess with you on the toilet?
Yeah, the
Come
face.
out of the toilet.
I feel bad for the guy in the toilet.
Who's the winner? Who's the loser there? Right?
It's on you, right?
But that is kind of fucked up. Like, what if it's somebody that's into shit like that? Hell yeah!
Like what? What's in the toilet,
An
bro?
evil face, like it just comes up from that. Not even a snake. The snake, I just kind of feel it biting around, like, hey, hey, you know. But like a face, you know, like you're wiping and throwing it down. It's like, excuse me. A face, a nasty looking face in that toilet. It's
Just staring at you.
Got your shit on it?
Yeah. Why?
Why did I choose to appear here?
Wrong fucking toilet.
New
Who's the one,
toilet, man.
who's the one being cursed here?
Oh man. But oh man, I'm sorry, we went off course there, man. But thank you, Irene, for that one. That was so awesome, man. And
Our condolences for your losses
yes,
too.
yes.
I mean, that's horrible.
we need more stories.
Yeah.
Oh,
With that
man.
said, yeah, you
We
guys.
have some. You know what though? We need some more stories like this because man,
Oh,
we've been getting
God.
some awesome stories lately.
Yeah,
A
they've
lot.
been good, man.
And
It took a lot of courage to tell that story too.
I
oh my
agree.
god.
but you know what? Yeah, it's kind of weird too because in Eli, I think that's the gentleman who told her to say her story. And I got to tell you, I'm so happy that you shared your story with us. And
She did say that it was like bothering her that she didn't have nobody to talk to, right?
Yeah, and that's the
I'm
thing.
glad we could be, you know.
it's just so hard. You can't even imagine what they're going through. So you know, you know, who knows what's in the cards? The big man upstairs has a plan for everybody, and I don't want to get too religious, but you know, hey, you know, let's think of it like that. You know.
Right.
But other than that, man, any mummy stories? We got to do those.
Bigfoot, UFOs.
Dude, we have not gotten. I'm not complaining about the stories we've been getting. We've been getting awesome stuff. But man, come on, man, cryptid or UFO? We have not gotten
We
one
need
UFO
'em.
story.
We need
We had
them.
a UFO, I think, a long time ago.
Oh, yeah,
love
we
that.
did.
Again,
I
It
love
was.
that.
It was just one. It was two actually.
but we
'cause I
haven't
think-
had any cryptid though.
Oh no Bigfoots.
I love all the extraterrestrial and I love that shit, man. I think it's because I'm an alien, but I like it. Have y'all seen that female that? Well, I'm sorry. She identifies as an alien.
My
But-
philosophy is you are who you are.
She wasn't happy. I think it was a guy or a girl, and they weren't happy. So they switched genders, and they still weren't happy.
So now they're an alien.
So now they're an alien.
Yeah, I'm still not happy. I want to be a Bigfoot,
I want to be.
and I'm still not happy.
I want to be Slender Man.
Honestly, yeah. I'm sorry. Let's get back on track here.
Yeah.
If y'all do have those stories, please write or call them in, and the number for that is 210-901-8666. And remember, folks, that is a 3-minute call. And if you do go over the 3 minutes, please continue your story and tell us it's part 2 of whatever story you're talking about. And if you guys are the shy type, and we have been getting those written in ones. And this is before we give out the website. Like, she wrote this one in, and it was long. It was fantastic. Don't worry
great.
about the length because we can deal with those. I'm thinking we get a lot of write-ins, so I'm thinking either they can express themselves more when they're writing it in than they can when they're telling it. You know, so by all means, you know, we'd love to hear the call-ins. But if you want to write those in and you're shy, Dave, what is that word?
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can visit our website. It's www.rigormortisparanormal.com. And on there is a there's a page that says submit a story. Just click on that and you can submit your story, or you can just email it to us, which is just as easy. And that's going to be rigormortisparanormal@gmail.com. And if you can, I mean, either way, whichever way you decide to send it to us, please just send your story.
Facebook?
I was going to say.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Facebook.
Yeah, you can check it
Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter, and then
Twitter. There you go.
And then then you
Social
can
media.
listen to us on all kinds of different things.
iHeartRadio. We're on
YouTube,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
Everything.
iTunes, you name it. I mean,
Even more important, Patreon.
Patreon.
Oh yeah, let's get back to
Patreon. That's right. Yeah.
Fellas, no, I think we're literally begging.
I know.
Begging.
Yeah. Let's start this little begging session here now. Yeah, we can definitely use. Hey man, if you can donate
A couple of coins our way. Yeah, shit, yeah.
If anybody wants some merchandise, maybe we can.
Hey, that's
figure
it.
something
Maybe.
out.
Yeah, we can figure something out to what you want.
But man, if you can donate $1 a month, that's all. Just think of all these poor people you can feed here on this end with beer and sorry,
$271 a month. 3 tacos. 3 tacos.
3 tacos.
Yeah, and get my energy back up. Also, we gotta. I think we should mention September. I know we're not there yet, but we're coming up on our second annual Paranormal Fest.
Yeah, the Paranormal Fest here in San Antonio. It's going to be at
held at where?
Victoria's Black Swan Inn here in San Antonio, Texas.
One of our favorite places.
Love that place. Oh yeah.
One of our favorite people too.
Yeah, Joanna DeVetto. Tossing that name out all the time now. But
She's our
She hates us.
idol.
She probably hates us, but we love her.
Yeah, I wish you guys would quit saying my name.
I invite y'all over one time. And
Look what happened.
He's so obsessed with me.
Who approved y'all to have a booth here?
Well, she was so sweet though, man. I
She
swear to
was.
God, man. Yes. And I still bring up to my friends. She tried to give me a sloppy Joe, fellas, and I was like, and I actually turned it down.
Yeah, you could have eaten a sloppy Joe in the
Come on.
fucking Black Swan Inn.
What do we? Yeah, I should
How
have been.
many
That would have
people-
been. Who
Even
could
if you
have?
weren't hungry, you're
Who
supposed
could have
to
said that, right? Hey, fellas, I ate a sloppy Joe at the Black Swan Inn. Joanna Rivera actually made it, No shit, man. I would have typed that to what's it say, Zach Bagans.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, you're all this, but have you ever eaten a sloppy Joe at?
Didn't think so.
yeah.
But
Not.
but I can't wait for that. That's gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
that's gonna be fun.
And hopefully more other stuff. We're still discussing, and it hasn't happened yet because I know we brought it up, and and those who are kind of excited to hear it was our bar hopping.
Basically, did we explain that one, or did we explain that? Basically, what we're gonna do is go bar hopping and collecting some stories and put that together, and but yeah, haunted places, I should say.
We just get drunk stories.
Drunk third.
It's gonna get a little blue.
Didn't even know her name.
That's the adult tower.
Once
right?
upon a
It's
time,
like-
we're gonna get a
Once upon a time.
I seriously have that guy, but other than that, fellas.
Hey, yeah, thanks for listening.
If you like this, share us with a friend.
Oh yes,
Multiple friends.
Multiple
Thank you,
friends.
Eli, for sharing us.
Damn.
yes.
Thank you,
Eli, and
You're
for turning us on to our new
weekly
friend
shout
Irene.
There you go.
There you go, Eli. You're the man.
But definitely, yeah. Make sure you share. And thanks for listening. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Laters.
Ta-ta.
You sound like a pervert.
The signal.
Wait, he
Ready?
goes like this to you.
3, 2.
To get the Minecraft, to get the UFO on your Minecraft world, you have to get the command block and get the red and blue and red
Blue and red what?
blocks.
Oh, and then what happens?
And then it comes on your Minecraft server.
What comes on it?
If you look at it, it goes crying, and when it's done crying, it goes supercharged at you, and you're off your Minecraft server. You're just
Oh my God.
died.
Oh, okay.
So what happens if I show my butt?
Then you'll die.